It's Sharon Corsentino, and I wanted to share with you a recent experience I had. This isn't legal advice. This is just one person in their 50s talking to other people who are going through the chapter of kind of parenting their senior parents and managing things that you may have to manage with your senior citizens in your life. And you may have already gone through this. This information may not be new or helpful to you, but if it helps one person, then I will feel validated that I have saved somebody a lot of time and toil and aggravation. So, wanted to share with you my experience of getting surviving spouse benefits for a parent. My dad recently passed away, and I knew that my mother would qualify for surviving spouse benefits under Social Security to receive the higher amount that my dad had been receiving versus the amount that she had been receiving under her own Social Security contributions. So, pretty quickly after my dad passed away, I contacted Social Security, which is a good idea because I didn't want to get into the business of having to repay amounts that my mother received before she qualified for this surviving spouse benefit. So, notified them very, very quickly that my dad had passed away, gave them all the information. The woman I spoke with was very friendly and told me that the local office would be calling me to schedule an appointment uh, for these surviving spouse benefits and gave me a time frame. I think she said 40 days. I might be wrong. It was all a bit muddy at that point with so much going on. But at any rate, I was told to anticipate either receiving correspondence in the mail or a phone call to schedule an appointment to complete this process. Well, that time frame came and went, and I never heard anything. So one afternoon, I picked up the phone and called Social Security. And after sitting on hold for a while, I got someone on the phone, and I explained the situation, and the person I spoke with, I don't remember if it was a man or a woman, it doesn't matter, um, said, I really wish that the national line for Social Security would stop telling people that the local office is going to call you because we just don't have the manpower to call everybody who's trying to get appointments scheduled. You have to call us. And I said, okay, great. Well, I'm on the phone with you now. Can I schedule an appointment? No, you have to call first thing in the morning when we open. We only release a certain amount of appointments per day, and it's for a time period in the future. She couldn't tell me if it was next month, next week, what we were talking about in terms of time frame. And um, so the next day I called and was able, let's say this was kind of mid-May-ish timeframe. My appointment was scheduled for July 7th. And so that appointment was supposed to be Monday, July 7th. A couple of weeks ago, I got a call from somebody and said, your appointment is no longer on July 7th. You get July 8th at 1. They don't care if you work. They don't care if you have another meeting, which I did. Thankfully, the clients and the attorneys in my case were very understanding that I needed to pause and take a phone call. But I assured them that I had no control over this process and the timing of it. So, but going back to this phone call that I made that afternoon, I said, well, I'm a little confused. I just need to do the application for the surviving spouse. Or I said I already had. And she said, no, you haven't. You just gave them verifying information, but you will have to complete the application process during this appointment. And I said, well, can I not do that now? No, I'm not permitted to take that information. So again, fast forward to yesterday, I have this phone call. There's no method to submit the application online. And the phone call was effectively the same phone call I had had a couple of times before, except at the end, they said, we're recording you, and do you under oath affirm that all of this information is true? That's really the only difference. It was just confirming vital statistics of my parents that were not a big deal. So it was a little confusing to me that it took so long to get this appointment and that there wasn't a way to just do this online. But what really got me was at the end of the appointment, the person everyone I have spoken with has been incredibly nice. I think that they get your frustration with the bureaucracy and the red tape, but they've all been very polite to me. But at the end of this call, the person said, okay, well, all we need is your parents' marriage license, an original or a certified copy of their marriage license, and then we'll be able to finish this application process. And I was really taken aback. And I thankfully have my parents' original marriage license from 1965, when the stamp was 5 cents. But I know a lot of people do not have that. And it led me to kind of go down the rabbit hole of thinking, what do you do if you got married in a country that no longer exists? Or you got married in a different country and don't have easy access to get a copy of your marriage license and a translation or whatever might be necessary, or that there's some other reason that this information is unobtainable. Or as a lawyer, we'd like to think about what if they have a common law marriage and there is no marriage license? So all kinds of thoughts ran through my head, but the biggest thought that I had was, thank goodness I knew where their marriage license was. And so first thing this morning, I got up and got dressed and went to the Social Security office with it in hand. And I got there before the office opened, and there was already a line of people out the door. And I kid you not, like out the front door. And thankfully, it ended up taking me about 45 minutes. But I will tell you, my heart sank when I walked up and I thought, I am going to be here all day long. But it did move pretty efficiently. But I think the biggest tip that I have for you is knowing that Social Security is not going to call you, and making sure that you have or know where you can get your parents' marriage license, or if it's not a parent that you're assisting, whoever it is, knowing where that pertinent information is, because getting this money is important for families, and not having it delayed. Even though she's eligible for back pay, receiving this money for my mother is important, and I wouldn't have wanted something like that to have delayed it. So I'm grateful that we're organized. I'm grateful that my parents had not discarded their marriage license somewhere along the way. But at any rate, if that helps you, I'm glad, and I hope to save you some time and sanity in the future. So thanks. Bye.